Welcome to Ouch. Was that a ghost? This podcast may contain graphic material, which some listeners may find disturbing. Listener discretion is advised.
Help me.
Now that we covered that, here's your host, Liz.
Welcome back to Ouch, Was That a Ghost with Liz.
And Mike, back again for your daily dose of specters and spooks. Ready to party. Well, me and the kids are going to see an AJR concert, which I know you probably haven't heard of them, but they do a bunch of like new hit songs, and they have a song called Tiny World's Tiny Little Violin, which is like a hit. They have a few hits, but they put on a show as well as playing the music. So they tell you how the background of it, they give you a story, and then they play the song. So it's kind of a cool experience.
Nice.
It's a younger crowd concert, but it's really good. I was watching some of them on the TikTok, and the
The TikTok.
But anyways, it'll be a fun time. What are you up to?
I'm going to be hurting tonight. I've been in the sun friggin' doing yard work, so I'm basically a tomato because I have two colors, either pale or tomato. There's no in between.
Yes, you've always been that way.
I don't tan. I just get a million freckles and burn.
Haley's the same way. She has a fair skin. Me and Brad both burn first, but then we get the tan as we go. You know what I mean?
I don't get it because I have Indian and Italian in me.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
I should be able to tan. Be able to. It's the Irish takes over. It sucks.
So we're releasing some new TikToks for Ouch, so everyone please go on and follow it and like it and, subscribe. Let's go.
Mike, you're acting in those TikToks.
I'm not even in
Superb.
them. It's like, honestly, you should check them out because it's a scary bear that's in them. Like, if I had a bear in my yard.
Okay, well, the actor in there, superb.
Yeah, yes. The bear was amazing. The bear almost ate my dog, actually. It was kind of weird. Yeah, it was scary. I don't know why you're laughing.
All right, so this week, I'm covering the Whaley house.
The what?
The Whaley house.
Whaley, like Papa Whaley?
Like whale, and then add a Y.
Oh, so like a whale in the ocean, not like Pup and a Whaley on a bike.
Correct.
Okay.
But it's someone's last name. You know how everyone back then, it would be like the Smith's house or the Jones's house.
Yeah.
But this house has earned the title of America's most supernatural home by the Travel Channel.
Oh, wow. That's a high accolade. It
is. That's a pretty bold statement.
Yeah, no shit. We should go stay in that house. Is it available to stay in? Let's go.
They do allow paranormal investigations at night. They do day tours.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you can sleep there because I don't think you can go in the rooms.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't want to sleep there anyways.
No. A little too close to the specters for comfort.
Yes. Especially when they're it's the most supernatural home.
Oh, I was going to say that sounds like a little bit bit too much of the ghost problems going on there. Then I like the simpler ones, you just get a little taste of it or you feel them breeze by you.
Yeah. This is a job for Igor Spangler.
Yes. Vakeman, Spangler.
But the house has served as a general store, a courthouse, a school, a theater. It's now a museum and a historical landmark, and it's located in Old Town, San Diego, California.
Oh, nice.
The Whaley family stemmed from Northern Ireland and traveled to Plymouth, Massachusetts in 1722.
So were they pilgrims?
They were not.
No, all right.
But the Whaleys were financially comfortable. The family had a strong work ethic. They were just all businessmen. Thomas's great-grandfather, Alexander Whaley, was a gunsmith. He actually took part in the Boston Tea Party, and during the Revolutionary War, he provided flintlock muskets. He was with George Washington at the Battle of White Plains. He even offered his home to George Washington to use as headquarters, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's super cool, yeah.
But Thomas, the main Whaley that we're going to be talking about, it was his house after all. He was born in New York City on October 5th, 1823. So he's a Libra, so we know he's cool off the bat.
Oh, what's a Libra? October, baby? For the laymen who don't understand the signs and everything.
I don't know that much about signs. I want to learn about it.
No, me neither. I have a few friends who are really into it, but I don't know much.
Being a Libra, what I've always been told is I like to keep the peace. Like I'm just comfortable when everything around me is like level. And that is so true. Like I'm very good at de-escalating problems and situations.
Yeah.
And I feel so much better if everything around me, everyone's like in a good...
No, so you obviously know more than you're putting on.
That's all I know just about myself. Because everyone else is like, oh, so Sagittarius, so Aquarius. I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, no, being a Taurus, they tell me that I'm pretty much the best at everything, the most handsome, the best look, the best smelling, like everything. Just, it's the best.
And modest.
Yeah, very modest, humble, yes.
He was born to parents, Rachel Pye, who came from a family of locksmiths. I can relate.
Yeah.
And Thomas Alexander Whaley, who came from a family of gunsmiths. He was the 7th out of 10 children. That's a lot of kids.
That is a lot of kids, but that was pretty standard back then. Everyone had a bunch of kids back then.
That's sad. They probably had so many knowing that a few wouldn't make it, which is terrible.
Yeah, maybe. I mean...
Or they were just bored.
And people didn't live as long back then, too, so...
Yeah. So Thomas's father, also named Thomas, passed away in 1832, and in his will, he insisted that his son get a liberal education. So he went off to boarding school in Connecticut, he went to Washington Institute, and then he went to Europe, giving him all the knowledge he needed to be a successful businessman.
Look at him, a worldly Thomas Jr. going into the world, taking over. I like it.
So when he finished his studies, he went back home to help his mother, who was now a widow, help her run all the properties and the lock business. His family had like a whole bunch of businesses, and he worked at all different positions, like a shipping firm, clerk, but he wanted to find his own way, not just stay in the family business. So on New Year's Day, 1849, he hopped on a boat and sailed from New York to San Francisco. This was the time of the gold rush, so Thomas went to go and try to line his pockets. It took him 204 days to get there.
Wow, imagine that. Those old days, people dying on the trails to go over there and stuff. Couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, but on a boat for 204 days?
Oh, he went on the boat for 204 days. Holy shit, that's even worse.
I have so many questions about toilets and all that stuff. Like, they must have a system, but that's so gross. Like, how there's no actual shower.
I mean, the toilets were probably just buckets they dumped over the side, honestly. I don't see how else they would do it. Or maybe they had like stalls that you just went down out into the ocean. I don't know. Who knows? You get a free ride if you clean out the ship buckets. Hop on in.
Gross.
204 days of cleaning shit. Have fun.
But he didn't go searching for gold. Once he was in San Francisco, he and his business partner, he has like a million business partners,
Yeah.
George Wardell, set up a store on Montgomery Street. This being the gold rush, he sold and offered on consignment mining equipment, utensils, hardware, woodwork, a lot of it coming from his New York family's business, Whaley and Pye. And he was a savvy businessman, but a fire destroyed the businesses where he set up on Montgomery Street, and he lost about $600 worth of goods, or $24,000 today, which was later determined to be arson. So Thomas Whaley decided to go to San Diego at the suggestion of an acquaintance, Louis Franklin, to start some other business adventures.
Oh, he was just collecting insurance before he left.
I've heard that. That's a theory.
Why wouldn't it be? I mean, they're just so convenient. Oh, I'm going to up and leave, but all my stuff burnt up.
So he took a boat again, and in October 1851, Thomas Whaley arrived at Old Town San Diego. There wasn't much going on there. It was like a brand new spot that they were taking over. There was a few hotels, a church, a few lawyers, a doctor, and just a few stores. So Thomas Whaley and Louis Franklin, along with other men, set up different businesses there. Louis Franklin rented out a 2-story residence/store for him and Tom Whaley to live in and work at. This is the only really cool thing I saw about Tom, is he tried to learn Spanish to communicate easier with the population there. So he had like a bilingual store.
Yeah, because, I mean, they had to have all the migrants there, right? So that would make sense. Get some workers, get some cheap labor,
Yeah.
That's what they were thinking.
The store name was even Tienda, California.
Oh, nice.
This was after the Spanish and Russian explorers trampled the area and were taking over Native American land. To put it in perspective, officials in Shasta City would offer $5 for every Indian head turned in. So some people that were in California for the gold rush pivoted to do this for money. And this is the government paying for this.
Hunt Indian?
Yeah, to bring heads. Like, it's so fucked up. I'll do a whole thing on this eventually.
Yeah.
but thousands were sold into slavery. There was a clause in a bill that was passed that made it so being Native American in public was illegal unless you could prove that you worked for a white boss and that no white man can be convicted by the testimony of a Native American.
Ugh, so crazy that was just even like real back then.
It took 5 years for them to change that part, allowing a Native American to be considered a competent witness in court. But they were still fighting back. So Chief Antonio Gara of San Luis Indians was pissed off because the sheriff was like, hey, now I want taxes on your cattle. And Antonio was probably like, who the fuck is this guy?
Right.
So the Gara revolt began. This was led by Antonio Gara. It was like a resistant movement. They decided to burn Warner's Ranch, which was a nearby ranch, and it had a stage station that was also burnt down. This huge thing broke out. 9 white men were killed, martial law, all that.
Damn Gara revolt.
I don't blame them.
Right.
But 35 people were left to guard the town, Thomas Whaley being one of them. Chief Antonio Gara was captured on January 10th, 1852, and he was found guilty of murder and theft and executed by a firing squad of 12 men. One of these men were Thomas Whaley. How bizarre is that they're like, hey, come here, you're on a firing squad today. Like, they just pull people. It's not like he was a sheriff or anything like that. It was just like, hey, come here.
I'm going to deputize you for the day to just shoot someone. Come on, let's go. It's insane. It was just accepted.
Yeah, it was just normal. But Antonio Gara is buried at the Campo Cemetery, which is a block away from the Whaley house. I mean, this whole ordeal is another story, but to put in perspective, the San Francisco Alto, which was a newspaper, listed the California Indian deaths from disease or deprivation. The count was at like 22,000.
Holy shit.
And this was all on and around where the Whaley house would be built.
Yeah.
So Thomas Whaley continued to work at the store, making a good profit. At his store, Tienda General, he and his new partner, Francis Hinton, turned a profit of about $18,000 in a year there. I forgot to look up the calculation from that time to now. But Thomas had different partners, like I said, over the years, different businesses. But overall, he was so successful that he decided he was going to go back to New York to get his sweetheart, Anna Eloise Delany. And the two married August 14th, 1853, at the Church of Ascension in New York City. Mm-hmm. And then the newlyweds went back to San Diego, California, arriving December of 1853. He, of course, got right back into his entrepreneurial thing, getting into different stores and investments. And in 1854, the Whaleys had their first child, Francis Hinton Whaley, named after Francis Hinton, a former business partner of Thomas. And in September of 1855, he purchased Lot 1 of Block 480 from the city of Old Town San Diego. And this was where he'd build the Whaley house.
The Whaley house.
In May of 1856, building began on the land.
So that's a good idea. Let's find a plot of land where thousands of Indians have died and been buried, because Indian burial sites are the best place to build land and build houses.
Yeah, this probably wasn't a good idea to build here.
So, I mean, this sounds like a great recipe for success right here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially the ones that you've killed yourself. That's a greater idea. But yeah, go ahead. No chance of being haunted there. Yeah.
No. So in May of 1856, building began on the land. First, Thomas Whaley built a single-story brick granary that could hold 300,000 to 400,000 pounds of grain. And don't worry, it was rat-proof.
I was actually worried about that.
Everything was like, it's rat-proof. It's rat-proof.
My first thought was like, well, this better be rat-proof. Yeah.
Right? Whew. Dodged a bullet there. So on August 18th, 1856, their second child, Thomas Whaley Jr., was born.
So that'd be the third, right? Because
the second.
Oh, the second. All right, yep.
After the rat-proof granary, construction began of, as Thomas Whaley said, quote, "My new house, when completed, will be the handsomest, most comfortable, and convenient place in town or within 150 miles of here."
I like it. And it's going to be rat-proof.
I hope so. We know the granary is.
Yes. Don't think he's not going to double down on that, proofing it.
This structure was designed by Mr. Whaley himself, and the bricks used came from his own brickyard for the house. It was a two-story Greek revival, which, like it sounds, it takes inspiration from the Greek. So think like temples, pillars, or like how older libraries or banks had that kind of pillory look in the front of the house.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. And I'm assuming built very different from the others in the area at the time. It was the talk of the town. It cost over $10,000 to build.
He's a frugal businessman. He knows how to save the money, get what he likes.
Well, that was big money back then.
Yeah, it's huge money.
For $10,000, you couldn't even get a car right now. The house would serve as the residence of the Whaleys on and off until the mid-1900s. In 1857, the Whaley house, or the luxurious mansion as it was considered, was complete, and the family moved into as the San Diego Herald said, it was the, quote, finest new brick block in Southern California, having mahogany and rosewood furniture, damask drapes, and Brussels carpets. I don't know what any of that stuff means, so don't ask.
I mean, sounds incredible. I don't know. I'm all about the damask drape, so that's where I'm going for.
But the house doubled as a general store as a cash-only business, which was on the first floor, and the family would live upstairs.
Oh, so he had a store out of his house? All right.
Yeah, they lived on the second floor, and the first floor was like all business.
Oh, gotcha.
And the front of the house had 5 doors, and each door had a window above, symmetry. It makes me think of, remember that Family Guy episode when Peter, I don't remember what, he was doing like some kind of drug or something, and he just started like making all doors in the front of the house. He was like, everyone needs a bunch of doors, and he went around and made like 50 bathrooms when he was renovating other people's houses.
I don't remember that, but I like it.
But people were in awe of the house. Never mind that he had a carriage that could fit 6 people and was driven by sorrels, which are reddish-brown horses. So he was flaunting it.
Yeah, he was showing off his stature.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
While his house was a hit in the town, becoming a gathering place for Old Town San Diego, his store on the first floor wasn't that successful because it wasn't really accessible. Like, it wasn't towards the middle of town. So he relocated his general store to a frame building he rented on the plaza, which was a better location as his house was too far from the center of the community.
Yeah.
And right after moving into the Whaley house, his luck seemed to change. By 1856, the couple had 3 children now, Francis Hinton, Thomas, who I mentioned, and Anna Amelia. Thomas only lived to 17 months. He ended up dying of scarlet fever a few months before Anna Amelia was born. And then in August 1858, the Whaley business he set up was destroyed by fire and again was found to be arson.
The one in the center of town?
Yes.
Okay.
So after the loss of their son and the business burning down, they decided to leave San Francisco. He ended up like taking other jobs at a commissary. You know his title? It was Commissary Storekeeper USA.
I like it. Let's add some authority to my title. Let's just add some words. Put USA on the end. It's powerful.
Sounds perfect. So while they were in San Francisco, the couple had 3 more children. George Hay Ringhold, who was named for another business partner, Violet Eloise, and Corinne Lillian. He went on to assist with taking over Alaska, setting up other businesses, stores, holding some political offices. Like, he was into all kinds of stuff. But after a huge earthquake in 1868, the Whaleys and their 5 children returned to the Whaley house in San Diego, where it was growing in population. It was great for a businessman, on top of the repairs that the house needed because of the earthquake.
Okay. Did it get destroyed in the earthquake? What?
Yeah, like the roof came in. There was just a lot of repairs. It was like this huge earthquake that destroyed a lot of buildings. So they had to move back in and start fixing stuff up. But I hope that the rats still didn't get in the granary.
Well, I mean, at this point, if they're in there, they're in there. It's too late, but it's rat proof. I trust in it.
Okay, good.
I have faith.
When back, Whaley and Crosswaith ran a general store for a few months. And then from October 1868 to January 1869, the Whaleys turned an upstairs bedroom in the house into the first commercial theater in San Diego.
Oh, wow.
Where the Tanner Troupe, a local theater troupe, would perform out of. And
so how big were their bedrooms that they have a theater in one of the bedrooms?
The theater room looks like from your fireplace in your living room to your fridge.
Oh, so it's not even that big of a room.
No, but somehow they could fit up to 150 guests.
No way.
Mostly standing. Yep. And women were advised not to wear hoop skirts or petticoats to be able to fit more people.
Oh, Jesus.
But only 17 days after the theater opened, the theater operator died after a performance. And then the troupe disbanded shortly after. So
they had one theater crew and that was it?
Yeah, the Tanner Troupe.
Once the guy died, they said, well, we're done.
Yeah.
All right.
In August of 1869, the San Diego County signed a 2-year lease of a courtroom and 3 of the upstairs rooms for storage and records with Thomas. They were paying Thomas $65 a month. So the granary, the rat-proof one, was turned into a full courtroom and served as San Diego's second ever courthouse from 1869 to 1871.
Wow.
At times, this room was used for like everything. It was like a Sunday school, a polling place, a meeting house, a restaurant, a museum, a pool hall, a schoolhouse, like everything that you can think of. This courthouse was like at some time.
Yeah, it was a general use store. I like it.
But then they were actually having trials. So these people are like sleeping upstairs and someone's downstairs like on trial. Like, how weird is that?
This Native American is not owned by a white person. Execute him.
Yeah. And they're like, honey, can you make me eggs?
Keep it down. I'm sleeping.
And this was while a political battle was going on. In 1868, Alonzo Horton established Newtown, San Diego. They were trying to change the focus to present-day downtown San Diego, and it became a battle of who's in charge here. The Republicans favored Newtown, and the Democrats favored Old Town. And they needed to decide, like, where are we setting up the government? If you remember, they leased a portion of the Whaley house, which the Old Towners were fine with, but the Newtowners wanted it all moved to Newtown, which is current downtown for reference. He offered to sell his house to the county multiple times, but they were like, no, it's fine.
Yeah, well, don't you love how, like, back then, someone could just walk in and be like, no, I'm changing. This is a new way to do things.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, oh, I guess we'll have to vote on it. Like, wait, what?
The whole setup of all this is just nuts to me.
Well, that was the way it was back then. It was like whoever won the battle gets to make the rules. And that's the way,
Yeah.
Laws and rules were created. It was crazy.
But this was it was a legal mess. The sheriff was ordered to seize the Whaley house, but he was like, no, just no. A judge would try to remove people from authority. The other one's trying to appoint his men. It was just chaos.
Absolute chaos and carnage. Cats and dogs living together.
Doesn't work, man.
Out of control.
But then it went all the way up to the California Supreme Court, and the Newtowners won. Even with the Old Towners threatening the Newtowners with, like, weapons, like, if you come in here, this will happen. They ended up doing a raid in the middle of the night on March 31st, 1871, and they, like, forcibly removed all the stuff and relocated it to Newtown. They ended up holding Anna at gunpoint. They broke windows, and it became a whole thing. Like, Thomas was like, you're paying for this.
So the Newtowners raided?
Yeah, it was like, I think it was vigilantes, like, out on the side, because technically the courts didn't want to be like, yeah, we did it, because they didn't want to.
Oh, so they hired someone.
I think so.
Yeah.
I wasn't there, but I think 100%. So.
Yeah.
So on January 5th, 1882, sisters Violet and Anna Whaley had a double wedding in Old San Diego. They were both being married on the same day by Reverend Dr. Bunker. I don't know why that name's so funny.
Dr. Bunker here. Paging Dr. Bunker.
Reverend Dr. Bunker, please.
Oh, Reverend Doctor. I forgot about the Reverend part.
So Anna married her first cousin, John T. Whaley. Aw.
I mean, I guess it could have been, yeah. They had like family reunions and they got a little chummy. Everything's paperwork so easy. That's the worst part about, like, if you had, like, I'm not a female, but I guess for a female, if you had to change all your name on your IDs and stuff like that and your credit cards, and she was like, nah, I'm good. I'm just going to marry my cousin.
Yeah, why not? It's so much easier. And Violet married George T. Bertolacchi. Yes, that's how you're supposed to say it.
Okay.
Shortly after marrying George, she realized that he was a con artist and he only married her for her money. The two ended up divorcing a year later, but this was a time where communities sucked in regards to, like, victim blaming, I guess. She was, like, shunned, whispered about. I mean, this is a time where a woman's worth was, did she find a husband? Did she have kids? So Violet was humiliated. And she actually tried to drown herself in the cistern out back, but her father stopped her. And she went to the doctors. Well, she was placed under the doctor's care, and she was diagnosed as having melancholy. So I'm guessing she was just, like, deeply depressed, probably because the town sucks and they're all, like, talking shit about her when she just went through this terrible ordeal.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, obviously she has severe melancholy if she's trying to drown herself.
So her parents placed her on, like, a constant watch. She was left in a room so they could know where she is at all time. And you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But on August 18th, 1885 at 6:30 a.m., Violet retrieved her father's gun, and Violet went into the backyard outhouse and she shot herself with her father Thomas's .32 caliber Smith & Wesson.
Oh, Jesus.
And Thomas, who was in the kitchen getting ready for breakfast, heard the shot, ran out to find his daughter in the outhouse with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He picked her up, carried her inside to the parlor where she passed away 10 minutes later.
Oh, God.
Her suicide note that was found was an excerpt from a poem by Thomas Hood that read, quote, Mad from life's history, swift to death's mystery, glad to be hurled anywhere, anywhere out of this world.
I mean, that's kind of fitting poem for what she did.
Yeah, it's so
It really
sad.
is. It is so sad.
And it's
That's crazy.
said that Edgar Allan Poe actually spoke of this during lectures.
He spoke what?
Of this note.
Oh, about the note, about her doing it.
Yeah,
and
like
everything.
the darkness and the beauty of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously well before they knew what depression was or anything. And so
yeah,
it was more of a philosophy than it was like a medical thing. But yeah, that's crazy.
But having a second child die in the house was too much for the family, so they decided to move to Newtown. 5 years later, Thomas passed away in 1890. The residence sat empty until 1909 when Francis, who was Thomas's son, returned to the Whaley house. Anna, the mom, George and Lillian, the siblings, also returned to the house, each passing away. Anna, Thomas's wife, passed in 1913 at the age of 80, Francis in 1914, and Lillian Corrine fell in the house and ended up having to go to a long-term care facility, and she ended up passing away there in September of 1953.
But all of them were older, right? It didn't sound like they passed away young.
Yeah, no, they all had pretty long lives.
Oh, all right. That's not like too out of the ordinary.
No, but it's just having like family death after death after death in the house.
Oh yeah, just all the death within the house, yeah.
And the courts actually tried to liquidate the home, but thankfully people rallied to save the historical treasure.
Yeah.
It was labeled a historical site in 1960 and turned into a museum. And I don't know, it's passed through different organizations like Save Our Heritage organization that have taken care of it and have like kept it up.
Yeah.
So now we're going to talk about the hauntings.
Oh, so after all this death, destruction, and issues in the past, you're telling me there's spirits that haunt this area?
Isn't that crazy?
That's insane. I don't even understand.
So starting right after the Whaleys moved in, Thomas and Anna both started hearing heavy footsteps, whispering and stomping. We know this because Anna wrote about it. They believed that these were the footsteps of Yankee Jim.
Yankee Jim, huh? Good old Yankee Jim.
You wondering who Yankee Jim is?
I'm very curious who I mean, I have suspicions who Yankee Jim is, but I feel like he's an old panhandler who has like bottles clanging on the side of him going, oh, hell yeah, we're going to get some moonshine tonight.
That's close.
Yeah, I know.
So at the San Diego Courthouse on August 17th, 1852, James W. Robinson, a.k.a. Yankee Jim. He was a known criminal, and he was being tried for burglary for his part in attempting to steal a rowboat from the San Diego harbor, unsuccessfully.
Oh, shit.
Him, along with two other men named Gray and Harris, were also said to be involved. They had their own trials for stealing a boat, and Gray and Harris were both found guilty and sentenced to 1 year each in state prison.
I mean, that's pretty much, I was spot on.
You were.
Yeah.
But Yankee Jim, while the other each got a year in state prison, he was found guilty by a jury of grand larceny and was sentenced to hang the next day. By the way, the boat owners were on the jury.
So Yankee Jim got a death penalty. The other guys got a year in jail.
Yep.
They both rolled on Yankee Jim. They both rolled on him.
They didn't even steal the boat that was an attempted boat
They
theft.
sold him out. They were like, it was all his idea. That damn Yankee Jim set us up for this.
He gave us moonshine.
Yeah, he's prospecting. He's like getting us moonshine. He's doing all these things. And he's stealing boats.
So it said that Yankee Jim thought that this was all a scare tactic, like a scared straight program. He didn't think he was really going to be executed. He was like laughing it off. Like few Catholic priests were there like trying to get him to repent, and he's like, nothing, don't worry about it. This is totally a side note, but Yankee Jim was like this big guy. He was said to be around 6'4", 6'5", and he didn't make it easy for those trying to arrest him. He put up a fight, and eventually he was caught. How do you think he was caught?
Was it a net?
Close.
Did they dig a pit?
Nope. You're getting further away.
Did they lure him into a brothel?
We're cowboys here.
They lassoed him and hog-tied him.
They called an expert lassoer in, and that's how they got him.
Yeah. Of course they did. That's the only way I'd try to catch Yankee Jim is with an expert lassoer. It's just the way it is.
I don't want any newbies. We want the experts. But while he was being led to the gallows, Yankee Jim realized that this was really happening. So he started freaking out. He was allowed to speak to those in attendance, I guess the audience, and he was pleading that he had, quote, given piles of gold to help poor men. But I don't think that they seemed to care because they ended up placing Jim on a mule cart with a noose around his neck, tied the other end. It said he tried to stay on the cart as long as he could, but when the mules started walking away, he kept his feet on as long as possible. But he eventually fell. But remember his height. He's like 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah.
So his toes were like hitting the ground. His neck didn't snap. So he just hung, swinging back and forth like a pendulum.
What a fucking torturous way to go. Just slowly getting the life sucked out of you.
And some people said it took up to 45 minutes.
Ugh. God.
Guess who was there witnessing Yankee Jim's execution? Thomas Whaley.
No, of course. Why wouldn't he be? So this motherfucker got tried, tortured, and everything for an attempted theft.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And after he was pronounced dead, it said he was too tall for a standard coffin, so they had to get creative to make his legs fit.
They hack him off?
I don't know if they broke him or hacked him off. But this land where the gallows stood, where Yankee Jim was hung, was the land that Thomas Whaley bought 3 years later to build his house on.
No, well, that's just, yeah, there we go. Let's keep building house on areas of death. That'd be great. Smart.
But Yankee Jim, maybe he got a really good deal on it because it was the gallows before.
True. That's probably what it was. He's a frugal businessman. He goes for the lowest price.
Probably. But the spot where Yankee Jim was hung is said to be the archway or the entryway to the parlor. And people, when they visit there, they feel like a tightness around their neck, around their throat.
Yeah.
Like Yankee Jim's like, look at what happened to me. How do you like it?
Oh, God.
Tour guides, visitors report seeing members of the Whaley family and some other spirits. I mean, some people did rent rooms there, and it was like the site of the gallows before. And people report hearing babies cry, thought to be Thomas Jr., who died at 17 months. In an upstairs bedroom, the figure of a female is seen that is said to emit this feeling of sadness, who's thought to be Violet Whaley. She's also seen outside of the house. There was a report of a police officer responding to a call, seeing a woman in old-timey clothing. And he didn't say this until after he retired, but he said there was a woman in the back crying, and he said, "Ma'am, are you all right?" And she did like the worst thing you can do. She turned, smiled, and then vanished.
Yeah, that's pretty freaky.
I don't like that.
I mean, all she wanted was someone to care about her and asking if she was all right.
But her presence is also said to be felt by the tree that she planted next to the home. And Violet is also seen by other officers in the 60s who received calls about a woman crying out back. But again, when they'd arrived, the woman in the purple period clothing would disappear.
Oh, God.
Thomas is often seen on the second floor looking on or in the parlor.
Oh, so he is a spirit there too?
I saw it on, I think it was BuzzFeed Unsolved, where they said it, that he goes around blowing tobacco smoke in people's faces.
All right. I wonder if they have like ghost meetings to see who's going to haunt for that day or whatever, or if they take shifts.
I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah, me either. But like if you have that many ghosts in one small of a spot, it's not like they can all come out at once, right?
They're bumping. Well, they could fit 150 people in one room, so who knows?
Yeah, but these ghosts, they like to wear their hoop skirts and their petticoats.
Oh, that's true.
So it's not like they're going to all sit there together.
Anna is often seen in the garden and in the parlor drinking tea in her green dress. A tour guide encountered her once while he was putting in the code to the alarm, and he heard, "Why are you here?" And there's a legend of the 9th step. That's supposedly where, when they raided the home to get the court documents, Anna was held at gunpoint on the 9th step, and she's often seen there.
Jeez.
The Whaley house has been on travel channels, America's Most Haunted, where they said it was the most supernatural house in the United States, as well as being on the show Ridiculousness, which I've never seen that one.
No, me neither.
And in 2012, I want to see this one. The Biography Channel, they do like the haunting of insert different celebrity. During the one that was the haunting of Regis Philbin, Regis was filming a morning program in 1964 while visiting the Whaley house, and he claims that he encountered Mrs. Whaley.
Yeah.
He said, quote, "You know, a lot of people poo-poo it because they can't see it, but there was something going on in that house." And if Regis Philbin says it, I believe it.
Yeah, of course. He knows everything.
Ghost Adventures have gone, BuzzFeed Unsolved, which that was a great episode. In that one, Ryan went into the back of the courtroom, and they said that it's supposed to be a portal or a vortex in the back of the courtroom. And he said he felt very dizzy when he was sitting in the chair, and he caught a whisper on audio in another room. There are reports of hearing a dog walking on the floor, or people catching a glimpse of a ghost dog or a ghost cat.
They had animals, yeah.
They had dogs.
Jesus.
I want a ghost cat.
So the whole family's like, screw this, we're all staying here, huh?
Yeah. Online, people have reported all sorts of experiences. One person said that while he was on a tour, the doll's eyes turned to look at him, and then they just turned back like, oh, crap. Like, you know when you get caught looking at somebody?
Yeah. So the ghost would turn away when you looked at it?
The doll. It was a doll. Like,
oh, the doll would. So the doll got bashful? Like, it didn't want to be, yeah. It's freaking dolls. Dolls are creepy as shit.
if they're mine, I feel okay with it, but somebody else's doll, I feel like they have such different energy.
If you looked at a doll and it looked away, you'd feel okay with that?
No, are we talking Raggedy Ann? What are we talking?
I don't know. Any doll. I mean, any doll that comes alive and like, I mean, it'd be cool if they were like Toy Story things where they like talk to you and like actually interacted.
Would he just look at you and then he just drops?
Like, just wondering about a doll just moving on its own and curious whether it's a good doll or a bad doll. That'd be freaky.
You'd have to run around the house. Andy's coming before you walk into a room.
100%.
But I don't know what causes all the hauntings, but being a block away from El Campo Santo, the cemetery, can't help any. This is a cemetery where Yankee Jim is buried and, what's his name? Chief Gara. And that whole cemetery is said to be super haunted. And it said that in 1874, some graves had to be moved. And not until 1993 did they find that they only moved the headstones and left the bodies where they were. And they found 13 graves using ground-penetrating radar.
Oh, wow. Just dead bodies under the ground, just spirits floating around.
But you can go on any site, Reddit, reviews, TripAdvisor. There's all sorts of stories of clothing getting tugged, hearing children laughing, disembodied voices, electronics malfunctioning. People report feeling something touching their leg, like a cat or a dog, or seeing orbs.
Oh, Yankee Jim.
Or feeling blowing in their ear. I saw this one tour they do, which sounds really fun. It's called Tequila, Tacos, and Tombstones. Old Town Food and Drink Walking Tour.
See, I'm down for something like that. Where is that?
Doesn't that sound awesome? San Diego.
Oh, all right. I'd be down for something like that. That seems like an interesting thing.
Yeah, and the house now offers, it's under Historic Tours of America. They offer self-guided day tours, guided night tours, or after-hour paranormal investigations.
Yeah.
But that's it.
I like it.
'Tis the story of the Whaley house.
Yeah, it's freaky. Like I said, all these, I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. All these hauntings around like Indian burial sites, it's so standard. It's obviously their spirits are just making shit happen. Even if they're not the ones haunting you. There's some sort of mystical connection to that type of thing, you know?
Yeah, but what an interesting house, though.
It's crazy.
If you go now, the whole courtroom is still set up. They have the general store all set up still.
Yeah, that'd be cool to go to. Check it out. Well, if we ever did go to San Diego, we'd definitely check that area out and then go on the taco tour.
Yes.
Do a twofer. Well, thank you, Les, for having me on again, and thanks for the awesome story of Yankee Jim and the Whaleys. That's going to be my new band name, Yankee Jim and the Whaleys.
Poor Jim. He got screwed.
But yeah, guys, make sure you check out the new TikToks that we put up there. It's very entertaining. And make sure you get on Patreon. Even if you go on and do the free tier, jump on there. There's a $1 tier. It's very easy to get on and sign up. And we appreciate it. It'll keep us going. And maybe if we get enough, we can go on some of these adventures and do some detailed descriptions of the areas. You know, get on all our sites like Spotify, subscribe, all these areas.
Mm-hmm. And Mike has some new news coming out in the next few weeks.
Oh, yes, that's a good teaser. We'll get you on that when we get it all set up and ready.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some exciting new adventures. Get ready for it.
But all right, thanks for coming on, and thank you so much for those TikToks. They're amazing.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. If you need more content or just want to help support the podcast, head on over to patreon.com and search Ouch, Was That a Ghost? If you need some snazzy merch, you can find it at crowdmade.com by searching Ouch, Was That a Ghost? If you have a story you'd like to share, you can email it to ouchwasthataghost@yahoo.com. You can also find us on Facebook and all the other social media platforms under Ouch, Was That a Ghost?
Help
All links can also be found on ouchwasthataghost.com.